And he just said, if I gave you 25 grand to quit your job and do Talking Yanks full time, what would you do? And I said, I'd ask you for advice. I'd say yes. And then I'd ask you what I'm supposed to do. So that was it. So that's how I quit my job. And I thought I can always be a wedding videographer. Like, it's not like if I take a year off, suddenly the game's going to like leave me behind and I can't be a wedding videographer anymore. You know what I mean? So like at worst case, I take a year, I build this company up or whatever it is up to the point where I have secondary income now. And then I'll go back to making whatever I was making there, plus this new hobby money. And I built a nice foundation. But in my head, I knew like there's no fucking way I was going to go back to doing work for other people.
What's up, everyone? This is episode 6, and today we're talking the business side of Jimmy O'Brien, aka Jomboy, the CEO of, you guessed it, Jomboy Media. So Jomboy is this upstart sports media company that has made major waves in the last couple of years. If you look at the top podcast charts for baseball, they regularly have the top charting podcasts. And they're beating out the likes of ESPN, CBS Sports, and the established sports media. Now, what's even crazier is in 2017, Jimmy, aka Jomboy, was a wedding videographer. He was not in the space at all. And then he just started grinding. He did 40 podcasts a week. He starred in them, he produced them, and he marketed them. And it's paid off. They're now a full-fledged media company, signing major leaguers to production deals. They have over 20 different podcasts and just closed a round of funding. And on an even bigger scale, they're what the MLB needs. The MLB has struggled to reach the next generation of fan, and that is exactly what Jomboy is doing. Okay, before we jump back into the episode, please make sure to rate and subscribe. If you're on YouTube, absolutely smash that like button. I read everything. It all means a ton.
I'm good. Thank you very much for having me on. I wanted to let you know while we were recording so my brother hears it. My younger brother, you're like his idol in this space. So like a long time, he's majoring in all this shit, right? So he's a Dobrik fan. So he would just send me your tweets about all this world like all the time. So we've been tapped in for a while. So it was exciting. So like first thing I did was like, hey, guess what show I'm going on?
So that is funny because I had this tweet and I looked it up before we recorded where I said, who should SeatGeek sponsor?
Yeah.
And I think we were actually currently working with you. We
had an affiliate program.
We had an affiliate relationship. Yeah. And I remember the tweet just got bombarded with Jomboy, 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 yeah. Jomboy. And I have a group thread with my team and I was like, this kid is everywhere.
Yeah.
Your fans are crazy passionate.
Yeah, we've built like a really strong community. Sorry, I'm looking down. My brother said, tell him he's my influencer marketing idol, or don't, because that's weird. But listen, I told you anyway.
I'll take any compliments. I take them. I love them. I'm glad I'm an influencer marketing idol. So let's give a high level overview of what Jomboy Media is.
Jomboy Media is upstart media company. Kind of, we started like fan media, kind of different perspective. Build up like from within a community, building a community about, it started with just the Yankees, and we're expanding and we're baseball heavy right now. And we're buying into the baseball space as much as we can. Eventually, I think we want to become anything that we think we can tackle or we can bring people on to tackle and go into other sports and other cultures and anything else. But I think it's right now, I heavily tied to baseball, and it's fan media. It's not taking things seriously, but having
what does
some
fan
insight.
Media mean?
Like, I'm a fan of the Yankees, so I'm biased, right? Like, if you listen to New York sports radio, a lot of times they're not fans of the team. They're just talking about the team. So, like, I wear my biases proudly. Like we do a podcast where we talk about all 30 teams talking baseball, and we'll open up and I'll be like, Cubs fans, you know more about the Cubs than I will ever know. So like I'm gonna sound like an idiot to you, but this is what I know and I think. In the comments, let me know what I got wrong. Like we're very open about what we know, what we don't know, and our biases, and that's not the sports media landscape. Hasn't been for a while. It's a lot of shouting heads saying like they're right. This is it, because that's what a lot of mainstream media thinks sells. Or just the opposite. So I think it's really laid back and just kind of like, you know, like a lot of people say like it just feels like I'm in a group of friends talking about sports.
And channel wise, you have what, 20 podcasts right now?
I would say around there. Yeah. We start shows like nothing. So, you know, we're not shy to launch a new idea or show or add people that we think fit. So I think we have, I'd say around 20.
And then you have YouTube channels as well. Like those are the two major distribution for Jomboy Media, podcasts and YouTube.
Podcasts, YouTube, Facebook. Like we have one, but Facebook and YouTube are completely different animals where, I don't know, it's kind of in the weeds right away, but we use, Facebook's awesome. If you're not a creator and you're not using Facebook, I always say use it and figure out how to use it, because you will. So like on YouTube, we have a bunch of different accounts. I mean, I'm looking at them now and there's a ton. On Facebook, most stuff just gets posted to one main account. On Facebook, like your posts if your post got 100,000 views, 5% came from people that like your post. It doesn't feed your subscribers or likers at all. It just goes whoosh into wherever they send it. So you don't really have to be like so tied down to like this page is for this audience, like you do on YouTube.
So when you say don't get in the weeds on Facebook, let's get in the weeds for a second.
Yeah.
It's a way to, you're saying the podcast and YouTube, those are your people there know who you are, but Facebook is disseminating your message much more broadly than the other two.
Yeah. And on YouTube, when we're just figuring this out recently, it's kind of like, well, you know, people subscribe and it's a specific audience. And if you give them something that doesn't fit their audience, they get like mad. They're like, stop this, blah, blah. And sometimes they're right. It's like, you're right. Like clearly this is not the same piece of content that you're here for. Facebook, no one cares. Like, cause it just goes into the everywhere, but it's a great tool for monetization and spreading, like, you know, exploding.
And in terms of stacking up against the rest of the sports media space, based on my research, you guys are one of the top baseball podcasts out there.
Yeah, it's cool. I mean, we're all obsessed with the charts now, which we know are kind of just trending charts. And they don't even take YouTube into account, which we do really good on YouTube comparatively. I don't think no podcasts have YouTubes. It's all just YouTubers. And there's some really good YouTubers, but yeah, like, think Trevor Plouffe, who's the next big leaguer that's on Talking Baseball. He found the chart at one point and sent it, and we were number one, and we all were like, whoa. And we like shared it. We're like, this is so cool. Thank you guys. And we thought it was like, I didn't know. And then we looked you can see the history, and it was like, we've been number one for a month straight. And I was like, holy shit. Like, I did not know that at all.
See, that's what I love about you. All are just such, I don't want to say fly by the seat of your pants, but you just said it. You start a podcast like it's not a thing. You just find out that you're top charting. If I was top charting, not only would my family know, not only my friends would know, I would tell anybody around me that that would be the most thing I would obsess about. And I love that you're just, oh yeah, we've just been top charting for a month.
Yeah. I'm too
Casually.
cynical to too cynical to I would just combat myself and be like, yeah, it's a trending chart. It fluctuates a lot, but, and it's just iTunes, or it's just like iTunes and Spotify. It doesn't take into account YouTube, whatever. I could be the devil in my head, like, is louder. So that's why I'll never really like jump up, because I know there's people that will be having my same like counter thoughts. But it is really cool, and I think it's just a testament to our audience and the community we built to be up there, because now Like we check a lot now because we just get kind of giddy because we want to be the 1, 2, 3 just to get the screenshot once. Now that we have 3, we consistently have 3 in the top 5 for baseball now, and we're adding a couple more. So those numbers are fun to play. So we are having a bit of fun. But yeah, I didn't know. I thought it was a blip, and then we checked and we're like, oh my God, we were number 1 for all of December. Didn't know that.
So let's walk it back a bit because your story is just, it's pretty incredible. There's a great athletic piece about it. But to me, let's back up to when you graduated college. And I believe you were a wedding videographer. Is that right?
Yeah, I graduated college with a major in history and a minor in sociology. And I think I went on a couple like sales jobs. That's like my dad was in sales, my grandpa's in sales, my uncles, everyone goes into sales. Whenever you took those like career aptitude tests, it was like you're going to be in sales, and it couldn't be further away from who I like am. Like I wish I was that person, but I'm not. I have like too many creative itches to like sell something I don't care about. So I applied for some sales jobs. I'm guessing they figured like this kid doesn't care enough, so I didn't get any. And then I was like, what do I do? My mom said, well, like the most fun you've had is editing videos. And I used to like film everything and make like hour-long documentaries for my friends, and then I just like burn them onto 6 DVDs and like, hey, here's that road trip we went on, and it'd be like a full-length doc for like 6 people. So I went into videography. I emailed every single videographer in the state of Connecticut where I lived, just said, hey, looking for help how do I break into this space? And then I got a job doing that.
When is that breaking moment where you're like, okay, I want to take this passion and start my own company? Like, where is that moment?
Never. Not until someone like offered it to me, I was very reluctant to get a job that took all my time. So I always did like videography. Like I was working a videography job. I was the lead videographer at an event company. So I did a lot of weddings, and I did it for a long time, and we did some corporate stuff, but it was 5 minutes away from where I lived. So it was a really short commute, and I didn't take it home with me at all. Like as soon as I was away from the company computer, I couldn't even edit the wedding video if I wanted to. So I never wanted a job that I either like had to take home or I had like an hour commute, because that 2 hours to and from, I was living in California, so it'd be like to San Francisco was the next step. That was 2 hours of hobbies that I couldn't do, and my hobby was creating videos, and I would just do it for my friends. Like, I did like blind taste tests, food reviews, we did like a web series, like we did a ton, and I never once was like, this is gonna be what I do. It was always, maybe I can do this, and that can be side money, and then that combined will get to a nice salary, right? So finally I pivoted from all the random stuff, and I was like, well, let's do Yankees. Let me do Yankee stuff because that's what I like the most. And I just went on Twitter. I just started live tweeting every single game for the Yankees and like talking with people. And once I got to like 1,000 followers on Twitter, I was like, you know what? That's enough. I'm going to start a video series now because these people will listen. It's just like, I look back and I'm like, that's not enough to do that. But I didn't care. So then I started it's just like a little Q&A I did. Like, hey, got any questions? I'll talk Yanks for a little bit. And then it was called Talking Yanks. And then eventually I roped my good friend from high school and college, who was in all my videos that I was trying out before. Like, dude, do this Yankees podcast with me. We have good chemistry. We're like best friends. So that was the first thing. So in 2017, I did that. We did it. I'm a very much like, if I'm doing something, I'm going to do it person. So like when he joined, I was like, we're not missing a day. If we tell the audience that it's going to be out on this day and this day every week, like we're not missing. And I think like maybe one time like he couldn't do it and I did it solo. And I was like, I'm not joking. Like that's just how I operate. If I do something, I do it right away. I don't like let it sit for a month. And then I do it the way I think is like best serving. So we did that. The Yankees make the playoffs. They go on a deep run. So like Yankees fan base is growing. Anyone that was like a casual fan is like dialed in. So we had some momentum, and like it was clear that we had a community that like engaged with us. But it was just that. It was like 2 episodes a week or maybe 1 a week. a podcast, and tweets. I would think I was keeping a blog back then.
Were you nervous about putting your face out there? Was there any hesitancy where I'm going to be, because in the athletic article you said you were a shy kid growing up, or the author did?
Yeah, I was like young. Well, yeah, I'm still shy in some ways. But I had a speech impediment when I was little. Like I couldn't talk. I had to go to a trailer, and they had to like make my tongue work better. I was a whale road kid. So like it's so funny to my sisters that I talk all day now. But I definitely was shy, and I think I'm still shy. Like my now wife was like a little upset with me when she took me to meet her friends because I didn't talk a lot. I'm like, well, I mean, I'm shy, whatever. But no, I was always fine in front of a camera because I did stuff forever. Like when I would make documentaries in high school, we would set up a camera, we'd do like confessionals, and we'd like make jokes and talk. Like, so that was a one up. Is I had no problem putting my face out there.
So you're doing the podcast, you're doing some video, the tweets. When did you feel traction was really there? Or when was that kind of moment where you feel like you broke?
I don't know, because I never knew like what, I knew that it was cool. People knew me, like every now and then, like, people would tweet at me that I didn't know. And, the Yankees were watching some of the videos I was making in the clubhouse, and like that leaked on a podcast. That was crazy. I was like, what? That's so weird. Like, people watch this. Yeah. And then, my buddy is like an investor, and my buddy was like, he's like, that's what he does. He's a VC world, right? He does startups, and he lived in California, and we were, he saw all this. We went to a game together, and he saw like the momentum that was happening. And I think he had some extra money lying around from Bitcoin or some shit. We wanted to sell ads, and he was like, hey, how can we do this? Like, what is even the numbers? What do they sell on? Do we have enough? Like, what is any of this? How does this work? So he had a company that sold jerseys. And I said, if you make jerseys, Yankees jerseys without names on the back, like we can sell those, because it's hard to find, and Yankees fans don't like the name on the back because they don't have the name on the back. So we did like a promotion. I said, don't pay us anything because I have no idea like if this is worthwhile. I said, but if we sell X amount, you have to fund a full trip to spring training for me, Jake, a camera guy, tickets to games, hotels, flights, like fully. You have to, like, I think it was 100, they're like $80 jerseys. So we gave our audience a discount code, and we said, if we reach this number, we're going to spring training. And they bought like, I think it was 100. I think our audience bought 200 in like a month. And we had 3,000 people. I had 3,000 followers on Twitter. Yeah. I got 3,000 followers on Twitter. So that was like a big return.
Let's go.
So he texted me like at the end of that December when the promotion was running, and he just said, if I gave you 25 grand to quit your job and do Talking Yanks full time, what would you do? And I said, I'd ask you for advice. I'd say yes, and then I'd ask you what I'm supposed to do. So that was it. So that's how I quit my job, and I thought I can always be a wedding videographer. Like, it's not like if I take a year off, suddenly the game's gonna like leave me behind and I can't be a wedding videographer anymore. You know what I mean? Like, at worst case, I take a year, I build this company up,
right,
or whatever it is, up to the point where I have secondary income now, and then I'll go back to making whatever I was making there, plus this new hobby money, and I built a nice foundation. But in my head, I knew like there's no fucking way I was gonna go back to doing work for other people.
Were you nervous about taking a friend's money?
No, I didn't spend it. I didn't spend any of it. I was so scared to spend it because then it was over, right?
So how did you? So you don't have a job. You have $25,000 that you're not going to touch.
Yeah, I probably spent like,
because you're too scared to touch it.
I was living with my girlfriend, so we weren't paying rent. And then we actually went to visit my family in New Jersey. And while we were there, my girlfriend was like, we got to move here. Like, it's so much cheaper. It's like, she liked it. So we moved. So then I was living with my family for a little bit. Eventually we did pay rent. So we were paying, like $1,500 a month. I was paying $700. My girlfriend was paying $700 with her job. And I paid myself $1,000 a month. So I was living off $300 a month extra. That was all of 2018 and really all of 2019. And I knew I had, heard stories of people that had like built businesses before. And one of the lines was like, I didn't attend a lot of weddings. I didn't attend a lot of events, like, but I built this company and I'm doing well now. And I kind of told my girlfriend that, like, hey, like, I'm busy. Like, I regret it a little bit now because I lost touch with a lot, but also I don't because it worked, But like in 2019, like, I was with 2 employees and I was doing everything, like everything. So I was crazy.
Yeah. I mean, but I assume you're still doing everything. Like, what is the day to day? What does your day to day look like?
Now it's much different. But back then, I mean, like, we did like minimum 4 shows a day, right? Because that was our strategy, kill them with content. Like, we had a Yankees podcast,
Yep.
and then we're like, this just Yankees isn't going to grow this thing. So then it was like, let's do just a general sports and banter about our lives. We did that 5 times a week. I did a music podcast once a week. I did a movie podcast twice a week. I did Talking Yanks twice a week. We did pregame shows for Talking Yanks 5 times a week.
So how many times are you talking for a show in a week during that time period?
I think I did 40 episodes a week. But we did that last year too, so we didn't slow down.
Jesus.
But
How do you have that many things to say?
I got you give me a topic, I'll come up with an opinion, and it'll be a real opinion, or I'll say I don't really care though. But I don't know. I have a lot of interests. Like we do a history podcast as well. That's pretty popular. So that's always been our motto, and we probably will have to keep dialing it back. But then we keep creating new shows as we're like, take away a show because we got to get more time for ourselves, and we create a new one, and now we like doing that. So, but back then I was editing them.
Does your audience care if you are taking away shows and then adding new shows, or they just say
but it's always
they kind of follow your interests?
no. Some shows people really like, and we've put shows on hiatus. The last 2 baseball seasons, like in the month of September, we've stopped everything else because there's burnout. And then they're like, when is this coming back? So we've just kind of switched up what the shows are, like instead of doing the daily radio show 5 times a week, we went to 3 times a week. And now it's just 1 time a week, but it's 2 hours and it's an all buy-in, like, culture pod. And then the history podcast, instead of saying every single Tuesday, we're going to have the show out. We've been like just bulking seasons. It's like we just recorded 6 episodes. Our editors are going to edit them all. And then we're going to put them out one by one. And like we did that with like our trivia show as well. So it's more just restructuring like the recording sessions and then the deliverable and like the packaging of it, and not every show doesn't need to be once a week. We're not going to miss a day, which is what we were at the beginning. But in 2019, I was editing all of them, doing pre-production for all of them, doing social media marketing for all of them, running every social account. I was designing all of the T-shirts for our merch store, as well as live tweeting like every single Yankees game, 162. So I really didn't have a life. Like
How did your girlfriend stay with you if you're doing all that?
Yeah, it got hard at the end. There was one breaking point where she like a nice reminder, like this isn't how it's going to continue, and
right.
like eye opening. And I think the next day canceled like 5 shows. Like I was like, oh, this is out, this is out, this is out, this is out, this is out.
Yeah. And then the moment you really went on, I feel like everyone's radar, was that Astros cheating scandal moment.
Yeah, there were some leading up to that were good. That was big, but like what people don't know is we were funded. Like we had the funding that we got that's trickled in now, and we just completed the round, was in agreement before the Astros thing even happened. Yeah.
Oh, really?
So yes, it went nationwide, and that was my first time. Like ESPN had me on, and some other Yes Network had me on. So that was definitely huge. I don't want to downplay it, but a lot of people are like, it made you, and it's like, man, we were putting in a lot of work. It didn't make us. Like we set ourselves up for success. And there were some videos before that, like Aaron Boone he got ejected, and he had a big rant. Savages in the box is what he said, and that was like a big one. That we always say, like, we have like our little graph of revenue and impressions, and so that ticked up like a sharp ramp. But what I'm proud of us is it didn't come back down. It just plateaued because it's like,
Right.
oh, who's this dude that made this video? And then like, oh, he has a podcast. You should check that out. Or, oh, they have a merch store. They should check that out. Or, oh, they do this. He does more videos like that. Check that out. So like, we got people to stick. And the same with the Astros. Like it went up, but it didn't come back down. Like those two spikes just got to new plateaus.
Well, that's the thing. I think you see a lot of creators or people who jump into space. You have that viral moment, but if you didn't put the work in
If the audience
before,
doesn't know, like,
it just kind of goes away.
and for the audience, they want to be able to
you actually-
scroll and
to be
and find
sticky.
other things that like, oh,
Right.
maybe I'll like more from him. And if I didn't have that back catalog or like hit him with another video the next day. So that's what we did when they started going. Like, one got big. Like, oh, you like these? Here's 3 more. I was doing like 3 a day of those small little videos. So the breakdowns, which are our main earner right now.
Let's get into that. So, main earner in terms of YouTube revenue is one of the big sources of revenue for the company.
YouTube, Facebook, and branded. So like one of those breakdowns earns on those 3 different ways.
Got it. So you put out a breakdown. You have the DraftKings ad.
Yeah.
You do YouTube revenue, and then Facebook is paying you too.
Yep. Yeah. Facebook is monetizable as well. Facebook matches YouTube or slightly less every month.
That's interesting because I feel like a lot of people are not thinking about Facebook.
A lot. I'd say every time I do a podcast about this, I say like if you're creating content and you're not throwing on Facebook, like you should. They also are much better with licensing and helping you.
It's an interesting question because I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I've sponsored a lot of creators, and the baseball space has been one of the tougher spaces to sponsor because the MLB has been tougher on licensing for content than the NBA, which has a much larger YouTube base, NFL. But the MLB, it's you and a couple other people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's if I had started in 2016, I wouldn't exist. They were like Gestapo, like they didn't let you do anything, and then what happened is they realized they were doing harm by doing that, so they put all their like guns down. All right, so like they didn't come at anyone in 2017. Like I posted gifts at every game, I posted videos. My account never got suspended. In 2016, my account would have been suspended like that. But they didn't want to let people know. They didn't make a big announcement like, creators, it's free reign. You can do this now. So I came in at the perfect time because, one, I didn't have a business and I didn't even have a Twitter account that I cared if I lost. So I didn't give a shit, right? Like there was no risk. Like, oh, okay, I'm going to lose my account that has 500 followers. Who cares? So I just went and I was just going and posting MLB stuff until they told me not to. And at that time, like everyone from Barstool, anyone else covering wouldn't do it. So on Yankees Twitter or baseball Twitter, Yankees Twitter, like a lot of people do live coverage and GIFs of the game now. Like a lot. 2017, I was the only one because everyone else was scared. So because I started at that time and I had nothing to risk and I just didn't care about the licensing, I was the first one to peek my head through that door and be like, you guys don't care anymore? Okay, I'm coming in. And then like now everyone else came after me and like, oh, okay, I guess MLB doesn't care, at least on Twitter and all that. You know what I mean? So I got a head start because I just was the first one in that door that no one knew was open anymore.
So one question that's sitting in the back of my mind as I hear that, but also how hard you've been working. You're putting out 40 episodes a week. Did you ever tell yourself at some point, whether it's ESPN or Barstool or another big media company, you say, maybe I can start outsourcing this. I'm just a content creator. Let's let them edit it. Let's let them distribute it. Let's let them do the social media marketing. I just want to enjoy creating content.
No, I don't think I like the business side. And also, someone asked me this the other day and they said, like, did you ever imagine, this is what it would become? And I said, like, people imagined it for me. So like the guy that invested with, and gave me that money, like he gave me that money to start a company, not to be a content creator for another company. You know what I mean? So that was like in my head from the jump. So like, you're going to get hired by Barstool. You're going to get hired by ESPN. Like, no one ever approached me ever anyway, but, it was never like a thought, because it was just kind of like, no, I'm starting my own company, like starting my own media company. You know what I mean? Like, that was early on. So it was never like the goal, really. Like, I would have said no. I didn't want to be an employee anywhere. Never wanted to be someone else's employee besides my own. So I'm glad it's worked out, but it's probably because I had that attitude that it has.
So explain trying to raise this round, because raising a round of funding for a sports media company isn't, I assume, the easiest thing in the world. I mean, you had traction, you're obviously growing, but for a lot of people, they'd say it's one of the hardest companies to raise money for.
You're not going to enjoy this answer. Is very easy. It was all inbound. We were putting together a pitch deck at the time at the end of 2019, and we were gonna start passing it around. And again, it was like nothing I knew. Like, my buddy was like, we can probably raise 300 grand to like keep us going. I was like, what? Who the fuck's gonna give us 300 grand for what? We're not even profitable right now. Like, I didn't know anything about it, which is I'm very eager to learn. Like, I'm very eager to find out if someone tells me it's something about the business that I didn't know, and like that's how it works, it's like I'm like, awesome, that's cool. So we had this pitch deck put together about like what we were trying to do in the goal. We didn't send it out to anyone. We had like 3 different groups in the same week, like, just reach out and be like, hey, like, I love what you do. I'm an investor. There's a lot of people that baseball fans that were like, want to see baseball grow and believe that our voice that we had crafted like was needed or could be a mainstay. I don't know, but so it was easy. Like, then we just got into negotiations right away, and by the end of November we had a deal. It was simple. Yeah, I'm sure the next round, whenever we do the next round, will be much more like difficult and convoluted. But we paired up with the guy that had a plan and was confident, and it was like come through on everything. I'm putting in an investor. He was like, I'll put an investor group together. I have a lot of connections of a bunch of value adds. So, some players, some people in the VC world, some people in the tech world, some people at, this company that is definitely going to be part of our growth. Some people over here, entertainment. We have some merch people. Like, it's like a wide net of people that all bought in that we can now utilize to help grow.
So the one thing when you say there's a lot of people who want to see baseball grow, the outsider's perspective is the MLB has not done a great job of fostering this next generation of fans. And you're one of the few content creators. I was looking at your announcement video when you announced hiring the MLB players. They're launching the podcast. And one of the top comments I read was, I haven't been interested in baseball since JV. Thank you for reintroducing me to the game. How do you think about how the MLB has handled getting this next generation and your job to kind of
MLB
as one of the big names in the space?
The youth. Like, my brother's age, he's 20 now. His whole middle school and high school life, where did he find videos? YouTube, right? What was on YouTube? Not baseball highlights. They had BAM, which is Baseball Advanced Media. So you had to go to like MLB.com, and then their search tool sucked. Everything sucked. Like, no one was like just in like the tick of their brain being like, I'd love to see a Jeter highlight at 12 years old, and then knew like I should go to MLB.com. I should search Derek Jeter and I should watch them. Like, that didn't service new fans at all. It didn't even service current fans. And they did that forever. They didn't go on Instagram until 2017. Like it was impossible to find a baseball highlight and then share it. You couldn't embed them in blogs. You couldn't tweet them out. You could not share baseball highlights. So they abandoned the whole youth, and they've realized that now. So that's why like the space was wide open, because there was a lot of people that love baseball and want to see it grow, and they're like, I hate being told that no one likes baseball anymore because I watch 162 games a year. You know what I mean? So that's why the space was so wide open. And they have so MLB in 2017, like I think they realized that that's what they did and that they had to fix it. And I think it's taken them until now, and maybe we're not there yet, where they have figured out how to fix it. And there's just a different way of thinking about some things that in a lot of ways it's like, well, maybe like it we don't I don't want to partner with you. Like I thought I would want to like work together because I want to have good relationships. It's almost like I think our ideas of growth and what engages is different than like how they view it, or sometimes they're too tied up in licensing and all that. So um they're definitely getting there, but yeah, there's just a lot of antiquated stuff about it, and I'm not. I mean, I'm 32. It's not like I'm 16 years old. How we do is just being genuine. I genuinely like love the Yankees. I would be watching. Sometimes I have to remind my wife like oh you have to watch for work, and I'm like, well, I mean, if I wasn't, if it wasn't my job, I'd still be watching this game right now. You're not. That's not something that like you could have changed out of me. I've watched like almost every Yankee game since I was 14 years old. Like it's still what I would be doing. So I think let people that love the game talk about how much they love the game. And a lot of the people that talk about the game for a profession right now don't love the game anymore. A lot of announcers don't like the game anymore. A lot of beat reporters don't like the game of baseball. It's a grind and it wears them down. And I think they've seen a lot of bullshit and like, hopefully I never get jaded and worn down by it, but
Well, I think
find people that like it and let them talk about it.
there's this interesting thing that I've noticed from people like you, from Pat McAfee is another one, Barstool, where sports media got so uptight, so buttoned up, so I don't know, it had to be this certain way, cookie cutter way, that they lost touch with the fan. And if you see what's coming into sports media now is people who just say, yeah, I guess I'm a journalist, but I'm also a fan and I'm not just going to hide it. I'm a Yankees fan at my
Yeah.
core and I'm not going to hide who I am.
Yeah. And I think it's more people relate to that more. Like, dude, 3 years in a row now, I've had to go on a podcast right after they get eliminated from the playoffs in like heartbreaking fashion and talk about it. It's like therapy. I would like if you couldn't pay me to go listen back to me be a sad loser. But that's like what fans like. And then when they win, you're as jubilant as ever. And some people are always like you're like you're fake, you're so happy, and then you're so sad. It's like that's what fandom is. That's not fake. There's nothing fake about that. Fake would be playing it down the middle both ways,
Right.
which is what sports has been for a while. People want to see emotion and like be like, that's how I felt too.
Yeah, I mean my dream, and I've said it a couple times, is there should be a way where you can watch the game, and if you want the cookie cutter down the middle, you can get it. But let's say Amazon somehow had MLB rights. You could post on Twitch. You could do your own announcing of the game, and I could hear that. If I listen to watch a Colts game, I could hear Pat McAfee. I could hear him cuss. If I wanted to hear the Barstool version, I could hear it. I feel like eventually we're going to get there because fans want that.
Yeah, baseball's the worst in that regard because even if you like your home announcer, I like the Yankees announcers, and then you're with them for 160 games, and then and in the postseason, you just have to listen to like at the games that matter most, you have to listen to ESPN do a podcast in the middle of the game and not talk about the game, and they don't really know the storylines of the season and like, oh, he's doing this because in September this happened, and ever since like so at first like they should offer home and away broadcasting for these games, and then maybe we can get the fan. That was our flagship, like our flagpole hope when I got the very first 25 grand was like, you know, my first goal was like get me to 60K a year. If I can make 60K a year talking about the team I like, I will do that for the rest of my life, and I can live within my means that way. Like that's like I was like I'd be very happy. That was the first goal. big goal was eventually it'd be cool to do, play-by-play, fan play-by-play switch, exactly what you just said. But we kind of do that on YouTube now.
And people don't get the concurrent viewer number is one of the most misunderstood numbers, I think, in all of content right now, because it's not the same as flipping on ESPN and whatever Nielsen rating they get. People are going out of their way to find your content and listen to it live.
There's
And
not
people,
five, yeah, there's not 5 bars in every town that just have the game on.
right. It is such a powerful thing to even get anyone to listen to you live in today's day and age that I think people really misunderstand. That number you just said is an incredibly large number for context. It is massive.
For a while, only our patrons could watch the podcast episodes live, and then they'd get re-uploaded. We'd like trim it up, clean it up, and re-upload it to everyone else. And we realized not only are we doubling the work of our producer and our editor and like export time and upload time, we're also abandoning a really good growth potential of being live and having 500 people watch live. So now we've revamped our entire Patreon to make sure we're still giving them stuff that we think is really, really worthwhile for their support. But we're live, talking baseball, talking Yanks are two, and another podcast. We're live. So right now we're live five times a week. Once Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. We're live, and twice on Wednesday. Today we were live in 2 different places. So like that's been a change. And even if it's just 500 people, that's amazing. I always tell people that are just starting, like, just picture you're in a stadium or a small venue, you have 500 people. That I'd be stage fright. I'd be like, I wouldn't be able to do it.
So 5 years ago, writing Videographer, where is Jomboy Media going to be 5 years from now?
I mean, I hope that we have. I hope like my day to day, like content wise, evolves slightly with some little fun things, but I just everything else has grown. But I hope at the company we get to add more voices, um, and give other people a chance to kind of talk about whatever they love talking about, the same manner that I got the chance to talk about what I love talking about, and build a community and an audience around it. So if we want to break into basketball or break into football or break into comedy or whatever, like it's probably we'll probably go out and try and find other talent that can help break that wall down, and then try to grow some talent within that can follow them through into that space. It's kind of the strategy I have, but nothing's
Yep.
set in stone.
And so what's the pitch? So now you're signing major leaguers. What's the pitch to them to join Jomboy versus ESPN or any of these other sports media companies?
We haven't really had to do much pitching yet, right? We will eventually. A lot of people that we've added or have added have wanted to be part of it, so it's a little easier. Like they see what we're doing. Like when we talked to Chris Rose, we said, like we like to think that we're kind of the future of baseball coverage. He said, stop saying that. You're the now of baseball coverage, and that was pretty cool. Like I was like, oh shit.
That's a pretty cool thing to say.
I wouldn't have said that about ourselves. So that was cool. So it was like, all right, well, let's just make this work and find out the correct way to do it. And then, we're growing.
So that's my final question that I've been asking every guest is, what would be your biggest regret?
My girlfriend didn't have to like pull me aside and say, this isn't really the best thing going on right now for us. I wish I would have come to that conclusion myself. Because it was like I said, I was just doing a lot. I was editing a lot, and there were some things I didn't need to be doing. And I was 10 a.m. to midnight every day, which is a lot. So there were some easy cuts after that conversation. I was like, yeah, I don't need to do these, and I don't need to do that, and I can cut that out, and that gives us dinner and the night together. You know what I mean? So we're married now. So everything's good and great.
Well, not many people even have the retrospective or whatever the right word is, to look at yourself and say, yeah, I fucked up. This was a hard time in my life, and now I'm going to get balance again. Usually things just quadruple and triple down, and you get obsessed with, you see a lot of content creators, you have that viral clip like you just talked about, where you've been working your ass off, and here's this moment where suddenly the graph goes crazy, and now it becomes addictive. I mean, I'm a very small content creator, and I get addicted to the likes and trying to make sure that I'm constantly on my game. And so I can only imagine that feeling, but it takes a certain person to say, okay, the views, the likes,
Yeah,
this
I mean,
extra editing doesn't actually need to be done.
And I pass this on to our team. Pretty fine tooth comb. Like I for a while I edited out every 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 stutter, because I wanted, every time we talked over each other, you know, so I would go through it and listen to it, and like, we don't do that anymore. We're just got better at talking, and our audience accepts it a little more.
I'm laughing because Blake and Vincenzo, who are listening in the background, have done a great job of editing how many times I say the word like. I had a moment where I uploaded my transcript and I did Control F like, and the entire document just highlighted. And I was just, for the next 2 weeks going into this podcast, I've been trying to walk around my house and talk on the phone and not say that 4-letter word like. So I totally get where you're coming from. Well, that is the episode. Thank you so much for joining. I mean, your story it's just incredible, man. I mean, I think the last 3 years have been amazing, and excited to see what you do next.
Yeah, thank you, man. Yeah, for us, it feels like we just got to the starting line, so it's like we're ready to run.
All right. Thank you for listening. Here's a quick outro with my main takeaway. I just honestly think it's so awesome that stuff like this is possible, that a guy with a point of view on his favorite sports team, on his sport, can get his message out there and can build a community, can build his own company that can do something different than what the established media was giving him. And he's seen success, and it just would never have been possible a decade ago. The internet and YouTube and podcasts have created a new generation of media companies that can reach consumers directly. And you don't need these intermediaries, whether it's ESPN, CBS, or these traditional partners that kind of chokehold content. Jomboy just went directly to the fans and built a media company that way. And that just wasn't possible a decade ago. And lastly, MLB, continue to lean into people like Jomboy. Let the internet disseminate your message for you. You don't need to control everything. Look at what the NBA is doing with creators. And I think if you follow that track record, if you follow what they are doing, you will get your message out there far faster than if you try to control everything yourself. All right. Again, that's the episode, but make sure to rate and subscribe. I read every review. I mean, you made it this far in the episode, so why not just leave me a quick note in the reviews and tell me how great the episode was. Thank you.